And we're live.
And we
Live on
are
the air.
live. You're here with internal Sadist and MiGTOW in the win. We're going to be talking about like some current events that are going on today, basically some current events that we've noticed and something I was talking to a couple of people about the whole entire COVID-19, and people were talking about had had it had we did the lockdown sooner, we'd have saved like 36,000 lives, basically, and stuff like that, which is actually pretty funny because I was still looking at all the states that weren't in lockdown, and they have some of the lowest numbers when it comes to coronavirus reports, which is actually pretty funny. And we have a U.S. territory that's not in lockdown that actually has a very low that has in fact that has zero cases of coronavirus for the most part, and that's Guam. Guam has zero and zero, basically zero deaths, zero coronavirus, zero everything for the most part, and they're not in lockdown. Um, then you have like the seven states that aren't in lockdown that have like a very they're at the bottom of like they're literally at the bottom of like they're at the bottom of the of the coronavirus. If you look at them by state, the seven states that are not in lockdown are actually at the bottom of the list, whereas like all the states that are at, like all the damn cases are at the top of the damn list. And I think the only one that comes close to we're pretty much all at the bottom of the list, no matter how you cut it, for the most part. And I found that interesting how like they talk about this lockdown saving everybody, but you got these states over here plus this U.S. territory that's not in lockdown, and everything seems to be perfectly fine. And they're not over 30,000. They don't even have 30,000 cases together. They barely
Right.
have 20,000. They barely have what, like I want to say. I think they have some. They barely have like they barely have 20,000 together for the most part. And this is the thing that I've always like noticed when like people always try to put negative, and they always try to make something seem like it's more dangerous than it needs to be,
It's
which is
basically a
like,
scare tactic.
yeah, it
It's a,
is.
and it's basically you got people. First off, thing of it is stress lowers the immune system,
Yeah, it does.
and when you have when you have somebody fear mongering, that's pretty much all it is fear mongering. You create unnecessary stress on the human body, which again taxes the immune system and weakens it. So now you got all these people stuck in the house. They got the stress of the government telling them to stay inside. You're safer at home with this BS. And then you have people living with who they reside with. If they reside with somebody, and it's like they're completely driving them absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. And the sad part about that is, what I've noticed about the COVID virus is I've noticed two things. One, we always talk about social distancing, but like about a good chunk of, like I would say about 70 to 90% of the people who they find dead with COVID virus, they find dead in their homes with COVID virus, not out in public, not out at the hospital. They find the majority of them dead in their households for the most part when it comes down to it, which is sad. So what's that say about social distancing when they find somebody dead in their household? That's a
That's telling
COVID
that,
virus case.
yeah, that's just. I mean, to me, you know what that tells me? That tells me that EA is either planned or that broad killed him, or the dude killed him, and they
Mm.
don't want they don't want the stuff getting out.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's just stuff like that that just blows my mind when I hear like people say, "Well, Tico, um, social distancing is important." Well, not really. You got everybody, if you got everybody dying at home, and they're finding people's bodies at home. How important is social distancing when we collect up most of the death the coronavirus deaths at their house? Like you're not collecting them up in public. You're not collecting them. You're barely collecting them up at the hospital because a lot of the hospitals are like furloughed and they're sending people home for the most part, and a lot of people are laid off, and just stuff along the lines of that. So that just baffles me and blows my mind when I actually see shit like that, where they say that this social distancing is saving lives, or we're going to extend it if y'all don't follow these rules to save,
Right.
because we're saving your lives. It's for your health and stuff like that. And the sad part about that is while we're actually pushing the same narrative about, well, we're trying to save your lives, this is for the betterment of everybody. This is not just about you. We got these 7 states plus one U.S. territory literally not on lockdown, but they have lower numbers of coronavirus than everybody else. They have little to no deaths, like very little to very minimum death toll when it comes down to it from the coronavirus, and they're basically thriving as their economies are thriving, and nobody got sent home, and their businesses are still open, and they're not in lockdown, and they're not wearing masks, and their economies are booming. So irony to that, what that lets me know is when the United States comes out of this, those 7 states will be fine, but the rest of the country will be devastated and depressed.
And it's like like I said again, it's all planned. And it's like what happens when you have a bunch of people in an enclosed space? You got people breathing in the same air. And it's like they're all. I mean, and you got people breathing in the same air. You got people freaking literally suffocating themselves on top of each other.
Yeah.
And if they're at home and they're single, lo and behold, don't let them have underlying mental conditions.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the sad part about this, a lot of times, a lot of people are like developing mental illnesses from being at home, or being, you know, what they call it,
Socially isolated.
at home, what the stay home request, basically. A lot of people are actually developing mental illnesses from being at home alone, or being at home with somebody that they really just don't want to be at home with. And there's a lot of people that are like, like I said, they're finding people dead in their own houses and shit like that. And the sad part about that, what I've always said about the when it comes down to it, if you don't have the interaction that you need, you're going to suffer greatly. Your immune system's going to suffer greatly, not having the interactions that you actually need as human beings for the most part on your day to day. Like it doesn't even necessarily have to be like hugs and kisses and shit like that. It could be like my routine. I go to the gas station, I get me my tea, I get back in my car, I say hi. I mean, I get me my tea, I say hi to the clerk, our normal witty banter in the morning, whatever it is, depending on how tired I am, and I get back in my truck. That's interaction right there. Despite the fact that it was minimum, that's still interaction, and that
Right.
interaction actually ups your immune system and ups your body and makes your body more readily available to fight. The irony to that is what a lot of people actually don't know is not including stress lowering your immune system. If you like regular hugs, regular kisses, and regular like touching actually boost your immune system. Like so if you touch somebody on the shoulder, or if you hug somebody, or if you kiss somebody, that actually sends a boost to your immune system, and that sends a boost to like a lot of your other a
And
lot of your other a lot of your other systems. Let it be your circulatory system, let it be your digestive system, let it be your immune system, let it be your nervous system, let it be all that shit. Basically it boosts all those systems for the most part when you actually have regular touch or regular contact with
right.
people for the most part, on
Pretty
top
much.
of like the actual interaction that you have with people. Go ahead, Win.
And it's like I don't know how many people have been in a relationship, a long term relationship, and it's like I don't know if anybody's noticed this that when you go through a breakup, you are let me make this to you. What you do is you basically go out there, you interact with the world, and you basically bring the world back to your significant other with affection. That is basically how you would strengthen your immune system. Now, on that note, if you were one of the other party cheats, of course they're going to bring back a sickness.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the
And it
thing
doesn't even have
is,
to be. It doesn't even have to be a significant other. It could be your dog. It could be your cat. It could be your
cat would
freaking
be
It could be your children. It could be a family member. Let it be your mom, your grandmother, your dad, your uncle. You know, whoever. Basically, it doesn't matter who it is, as long as you have that actual
interaction.
conversation and contact and touch with that person. Like the normal. I'm not talking about crazy touch. I'm talking about actual, like the normal run of the mill touch. Like I know some people
Handshake.
that'll actually depending on how old your mom is. Like a good example of that is my grandmother. Every time I see my grandmother, I always kiss her on the top of her head, basically. Um, so like that right there pretty much boosts her spirits, and that boosts her mentally, emotionally, and physically for the most part, and along with her immune system for the most part, because obviously it's working because she's still alive and she's still doing crazy shit like skydiving and bungee jumping and riding quads and going hiking and you know zip lining and shit like that. So obviously it works.
Right.
So it's one of those things where like you also got to take that in consideration too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a significant other. Like when said, it could be a cat, a dog. It could be a family member that you love dearly for the most part. Um,
Like after, like said, here's what it is my number when I'm in a truck, I literally drive across the country. The reason for soap and water is to wash off the stuff your body can't handle. You know,
mhm.
and it's like I have like it's to wash off the stuff that your body can't absorb or can't handle, like
Or can't
excess.
defend against, basically, or
Right,
something that shouldn't be on you, basically, that can cause like further complications or sicknesses for the most part, like
right.
other germs for the most part. Yeah.
Even my little basin hand wash is better than nothing. You know, my wash basin hand wash system, where I have a wash basin to clean my hands off. But I always like I said, every time I go to the shipper and the consignee, if I can use their bathroom to wash my hands, I will do so. I will do so. But if I can't, I will find. So I will get an alternative. And these some of these governors have gone entirely to the piss far, and some of them know it. Oh, and some of them know it. That's the sad part about it. And the majority of them just don't care. And it's like it's part of the reason with her when I kind of don't want to be led by somebody who's going to take things too far. You know, I will not follow somebody who will literally continuously cause mayhem. That's all it is mayhem. It's all they're causing is unnecessary panic, unnecessary strife, and unnecessary stress. You know,
Hmm.
I I mean I can't see myself following somebody And it's unreasonable. It's like I don't want to be. I mean, I'm a truck driver. I drive and I see this stuff. I've seen places that are wide open who are literally healthy as an ox. You know, strong as an ox, and their economy is doing better. They're still doing the whole social distancing stuff, and we're 6 feet. And some of these states have literally done it all. Some of these states have literally done away with it altogether.
Yeah. And some of the states never even did social distancing or a lockdown.
They just told them to kiss their behind.
No, they basically just said, let's do what's normal.
Right.
They ain't do no lockdown, they ain't do no social distancing, and they just basically just they just went on with their merry way like it was pretty much another flu season for the most part. And they pretty much went on, and they have they have a very, very low mortality rate, unlike the rest of the
Holy.
countries who's all in lockdown. Like, let that shit sink in. You know, you got New York in lockdown. It has like hundreds of thousands of cases of coronavirus and a bunch of deaths. You got Guam over here not in lockdown, and they got 0 cases and 0 deaths. Then you got like freaking what was the other state off the top of my head? I can't remember. Like, you got one state that only has what, like 900 cases. You got another state that only has like 1,000 cases, and very low death rate. And like their death rate so was like what, 3, 5, 6, 12,
That's
32,
because
900 basically for the
that's
one that
because they're
actually got
not
the higher
common.
one.
Yeah, that's because they're not practicing proper social distancing.
Well, no, that's
I
the
think
sad part
so.
about that is like they have a very low death toll too, and they have a very low coronavirus like infection rate basically at the same damn time, which is super sad. Like, wait, so you're telling me the social distancing is working, but all the states that got social distancing coming going on has anywhere between like 15,000 to 100 like a to like, I think the most I've seen was like 500 something thousand cases. But you're telling me this is working.
Yeah, it's work. It's working. It's working. It's
It's working
working.
its way around your whole
It's
entire
working.
fucking state. Yeah, that's about the
Right.
most that it's working on. It's working your way around the whole damn state. It's not working on the. That's about it. Like, apparently, all these people
Yeah.
are still getting sick with all this social distancing. And
Let me say this to you. It's
the thing that pisses me off the most about this shit is it's more than 6 feet that you should be standing away from each other. Technically,
right.
way over 6 feet. Because I look at it like this, and this is how I'm basically going to suggest this. If somebody sneezes, that shit stays up in the air. Let's just say you're 6 feet behind me and you walk right through that sneeze cloud that I just did. Now you just got my fucking germs. And
Yeah.
you just walk through wherever the hell I got. Now, the sad part about that is when you sneeze, on top of that, if you don't cover your mouth or cover your face, basically, when you sneeze, that shit goes further than 6 feet.
Yeah.
It
Pretty
goes
much.
way further than 6 feet. And it's been known that stuff has been known to travel up to anywhere between 15 to 25 feet. And if you cough and have some spit come out your mouth, that shit could travel about 15 feet. So why are we only doing 6 feet again? Because like, and the sad part about that is like I hear a lot of people they'll say like, well, Tico, if we said that many feet, you'd be panicked. Well, hell, you're already panicking people right now. You might as well just go the fuck all the way. At this point, is how I look at it. And
You
it's
might
sad
as well
because
go.
you might as well
Yeah.
just go full metal. You might as well just go full metal retarded and just go all the fucking way and say 15 feet, 25 feet at this point, because that'll be the best you can do. But then I realized the reason why they picked 6 feet is because a lot of places would be starting to suffer Airlines will suffer if they pick more than 6 feet. They pick 15 feet. Airlines will suffer. Um, stores will suffer. Um, you know, workspaces will suffer because you couldn't exactly put everybody 15 to 20 feet away from each other in a workspace and expect everything to go okay, unless it's an open space.
The reason I think they picked 6 feet is because we as human beings are social. They know this. We're social. We're a social species,
I think they
and
picked six. I think they picked 6 feet because it's not economically feasible.
or
If
economically,
they go any, it's not economically feasible if they go over 6 feet.
it's not logically feasible,
Well, no, it's very logically feasible because germs travel further than 6 feet.
right? Well,
If you sneeze or if you cough, germs travel further than 6 feet. So, like I said, the only thing I can think of, the only reason that they could possibly come up with that actually sounds reasonable is it's just not economically feasible to make everybody stand more than 6 feet away from each other because a lot of these places, like I was saying, the airlines will take a hit because if you get on the airline today, you're sitting literally 6 feet, like damn near it's damn near close, but you're sitting 6 feet apart from each other for the most part. If it's like a three row, if it's like a three seats on a plane, you're literally sitting what like almost give or take is depending on from head to head. It's almost 6 feet for the most part. And if you stand in stores, like the social distancing is like 6 feet, and they'll like put footprints there. If you were actually do the actual distancing that you need to actually avoid being coughed on or sneezed on, you would be on the other side of the fucking store.
now they were saying that COVID can be transferred during flatulence, right?
Um, I don't think they're saying that now. Um,
But they were saying that.
I highly doubt that. That's no,
Or
no,
there was a rumor on the internet. So, but
no. Like only
it is
only way only way that can actually be a thing is unless it was like roaches. Like the roaches is
right.
the only thing that can survive intestines and actually come out of your shit for the most part. I've actually seen that happen and actually worked in a lab where apparently one of the patients basically was homeless and he had roaches in his intestines basically, and he pretty much shit it out in his stool.
That's impressive.
Well, no, they pretty much lived. They were in his intestines. They were in his body. They literally locked down that whole entire floor in that whole entire unit and put him in like 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 top tier isolation for that reason because he literally had roaches in his shit.
That's impressive.
Like think of it like this: you're working out in the lab. You had a long ass day. You're processing some shit, and you happen to pick up a cup, and you see something moving in a cup, but you think you're going crazy because you had a long ass day. Then, as you're like processing it, and you take it out the bag, and you really look at it, and you see like a couple things moving in the damn shit in that cup. Then
Wow.
you start looking at it closely and realize that nigga, is that a roach? And you take it to the portion of the lab where like where it's like isolation and it's locked down, and you open the shit and you realize there's roaches that's alive in this stool.
That's impressive. I mean, that's impressive to see a roach survive that much.
Well, no, because roaches are known to survive a lot of shit, and the sad part about that is like this. It wouldn't be because a roach can survive a nuclear blast for the most part. And the sad part about that, it doesn't have the same survivability as like some type of like grout worm or some type of worm or something like that. But it's it's like I think it was like 2 kilotons or something like that, 2 or 3 kilotons that a roach can actually survive or something along the lines of that for the most part. But like yeah, I was actually literally looking at this cup and I literally seen shit moving, but I thought I was going crazy because I had a long ass day. Meanwhile, I only been there for like 4 hours. It was long enough for my black ass. And I happen to see this cup and I'm looking at it like the fuck. No, I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing in this cup. I'm not saying what I think I'm seeing in this cup. Sure enough, it was roaches in that damn cup. It was like, I think I counted like I counted like six in that cup. There could have been more. That's all I was counting because I put the lid back on that bitch very quickly. That ain't what the fuck I wanted. That is not what the fuck I wanted. But yeah, it's just shit like that that just like it's just shit like that that just makes me think when it comes down to it. So I highly doubt that that can actually be a thing. Now, if you say hepatitis, or if you say something along the lines of that when it comes to like shit and flatulence and shit like that, yeah, I'm more likely to believe that. You know, because I know if somebody has hepatitis, you literally have to clean your toilet seat after they're gone, or clean your toilet seat while they're at your house every time you use your toilet basically, because apparently that shit you can get got by that shit apparently because you have to really clean your toilet seat. Now,
Right.
but like as far as like COVID virus, that'd be like saying if I fart you can catch the flu, or if I fart you can catch bird flu or swine flu or mad cow's disease or you know
Uh-huh. Hoof and
shit
mouth
like that for
disease.
yeah. I can get foot and mouth disease or thrush or you know you can pretty much draw like a crazy comparison or a crazy line to any fucking thing if you say that type of shit for the most part. Um, it's just shit like that. What do you say? Tupperware party, hallelujah, Tupperware party. Crap. But yeah, it's just stuff along the lines of that that just blows my mind when I hear shit or see shit like that, and people just say like the most off the wall shit. Because in all technicality, if you want to get technical, you really want to drive it home, we should be standing more than 6 feet apart from each other, standing or sitting more than 6 feet apart from each other, because
Right.
germs do travel. Because at the end of the day, if I cough, that's going to go way more than 6 feet. You're going to catch the full blast of my cough in your fucking face if I don't cover my face. The same goes for a sneeze. If I sneeze at you, you're 6 feet away from me. You're going to catch the full blast of that sneeze.
Right. One way or another.
It's not going to be one way or another. You're going to catch that blast no matter what. And the sad part about that is if I sneeze, there's a nice blast radius of from the side of your mouth to the front of your mouth, basically. So people on the side of you are going to catch that blast, and people in front of you are really going to catch that blast.
Depending on where you are in back, you might catch it too.
Yeah. Well, no, if you're in the back, you should be pretty fine, unless it just stays up there and you happen to walk through it, basically. Walk through that cloud of shit for the most part. Like, you're usually pretty fine. If you're sitting down, you're usually pretty fine as far as, like, that's concerned. But the shit can still travel backwards, though, or travel forward for the most part in the air because that shit just pretty much floats on air for the most part.
Well, I was talking about the wind.
So the wind, oh, well, if you're on a plane, there's no wind, so you ain't got to worry about that. Or if you're in like a building, there's usually no wind unless like you have a very highly AC room that's just blowing air one way. Then you got to worry about the shit for the most part. But yeah, it's just shit like that that just blows my mind when it comes down to it.
It's like so we really should be 36, but 6 feet rule is about as is acceptable now, huh?
The 6 feet rule is about as like the 6 feet rule is about as useful as a one-legged man in an ass kicking contest.
One
That's
legged
legit.
man and
Yeah, the 6 foot rule is about as useful as a one-legged man in an ass kicking contest. That's basically the analogy I'm going to use for that one, because that's typically what it is. We should be more than 6 feet technically. Like Double I said, mucus projectiles. Yeah, like come on now,
snot missiles.
literally, yeah, yeah, aerosol. Yeah, like America said, aerosol. Like yeah, Double I said, mucus projectiles. That's going to pop up pretty soon here, and America said, aerosol aerosol vectors diseases, basically. And that's basically what it is when you're actually dealing with stuff like that for the most part. That's typically what you're dealing with. You're literally dealing with that type of stuff and projectiles and all that other great shit. And it's sad to watch that shit happen. And it's sad to watch people actually go through this shit. And the sad part about this social distancing literally is useless when you're finding all the people dead at home.
Right? It's like
And
to
like I
me.
said at the beginning, you have 7 states, plus a U.S. territory that are not in social distancing, that are not in lockdown, and it's operation as usual, and they have the lowest cases of COVID virus. Make that make sense, somebody. How are you?
I
How are you one of the 7 states, and how are you one of 7 states in the one U.S. territory, and you have the lowest cases of coronavirus and deaths? And Guam has zero deaths, zero coronavirus right now to date for the most part. Last I checked, they have zero and zero. Um, Another state has what, like 30 something, 100 something, 900 something, 1,000. And I think the one on the worst end is probably like, I think is it Arkansas at 15,000 cases, but that's like lower than the vast majority of the other fucking states on the list. And it's just shit like this that just blows my mind when I read or see that shit. Like, they're not in lockdown; they're still fully operational states. So what that lets me know is when a before the lockdown's over, you might want to move to one of them 7 states or Guam. Like legit, because they'll be the only ones with a fucking market and the only ones with a fucking workforce at this point in time. And it's sad, and it's so sad, but it's so freaking true at the same damn time. Like, they're the only ones with a workforce. They're the only ones that don't have a problem
right. And
and not really sending people home. Go ahead.
I mean, here's what I've encountered. I've encountered temperature checks. You know, from the shipper and the consignee. And it's like, the way I see it, I mean, there's nothing, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and play, and like, first off, it takes up time. Second off,
Mm-hmm.
if it comes a time when my AC is not working in my truck, or I decide to roll my windows down and not use the AC, of course my temperature is going to be higher because
Mm-hmm.
I am in a hot truck. I'm in a hot ass truck. I'm in
True.
the and let me break this to you. A truck that hasn't been ran for some time can get an excess of 110 degrees. You know, can get an excess. It can get a minimum of 110 degrees.
Yeah, that's
And it's
very.
like, and it's crazy.
What's up, Rex? Long time no see.
Uh,
And it, that's it. It is ridiculous because the sad part about that is if you sit somewhere long enough, you can actually mimic the same temperature of the damn place you're sitting in for. Or it's kind of like if you sit in something that's colder than normal, your body shivers just so it can warm itself up for the most part.
yeah, basically, I have to turn
You're
the
basically
AC.
going through hypothermia. Basically, you're the beginning stages of hypothermia when you start shivering for the most part. To basically, it shivers to basically help you warm your body up for the most part. That's typically how that works. And yeah, it is tyranny once you think about it. America's Seville, all this shit that's going on with all these states being closed or shit like that for the most part. Because I remember when I was in Minnesota. In Minnesota, it was before I left. it was basically like optional if you wore a mask or not. Basically, it literally was optional. Like you can walk in a gas station, a store, anything, and not wear a mask for the most part. You can walk around, do anything you want to without wearing a mask for the most part. And like it was one of those things where like if you wanted to wear one, you could wear one. If you don't want to wear one, you don't have to wear one. And I think before I left Minnesota, they were going to announce that the following week that they're going to make masks mandatory in Minnesota. I don't know if they actually did it, but they were talking about it, and I think they may have done it, but I don't know for sure because I left before that became a thing.
Right.
But
Me,
before that in Minnesota, it was just basically if you want to wear one, you can wear one. If you don't want to wear one, you don't have to wear one. That's typically how
let
that
me,
works.
let me tell you the problems that these masks have caused. See, some of these drivers are overreacting and stuff.
Hmm.
Some of these drivers are wearing their mask in the truck.
Yeah,
Now, it's one thing if you don't wear glasses. It's another thing if you wear glasses because that fogs your glasses up. When your glasses, like I said, about a month ago, maybe a month or two ago, a truck, I drove past a wreck where a person's mask fogged his glasses up, and he ended up in the center in the median.
yeah. Matter of fact, there was a person that actually was driving home and was wearing a mask and got asphyxiated, passed out, and pretty much ran into a freaking ran
Right?
off the road or hit somebody basically. And the
That's a
sad part
that's a
about that, what a lot of people don't realize about that is wearing these masks is oxygen deprivation for the most part. So if you're wearing these masks 24/7, you're pretty much breathing. What it pretty much does is you're breathing in carbon monoxide. Now that same carbon that you're actually supposed to expel, so a plant can actually pick it up and switch it, which you switch oxygen. Like basically, when you breathe out, you're basically switching your carbon that you're breathing out with the plant's oxygen that is breathing out. So
which
now
is
you're giving
which
that plant the carbon that it needs, and that plant's giving you the oxygen that it needs, so you can actually continue breathing. So when I hear a vegan actually say, you should eat plants, you're technically killing the shit that's keeping us alive.
right. And the way I see it is like, isn't doesn't COVID-19 mimic the same symptoms
Of what?
of asphyxiation? Well,
Well,
mine's
it's a respiratory thing, so it actually can. You can actually feel like you can't breathe and shit like that. Is for the most part, yeah. So yeah, technically to an extent, yeah. Only it's not carbon. It's basically your body basically drowning for the most part of your body either drowning or your body basically not being able to breathe either way, depending on how it comes to you. Some of it's wet, some of it's like dry, but it depends on basically how it works out in your body and how your body actually reacts to it. So you can actually feel like you're drowning, or you can feel like you got like a ton of elephants sitting on your chest.
right,
Either way, or you can have both. You can feel like you're drowning and have a ton of elephants sitting on your chest. Um,
which is actually freaking funny.
yeah. And the sad part about that, America's DeVille, the only reason why Minnesota is burning is because of that guy, the cop that put his knee on the guy's neck for the most part. And the irony to that is, black community's outraged there, but it's more white people that are outraged than the black people that are outraged about it.
And you know what the sad part about it is
Most of the
that
protesters are actually white.
right, and it's like it shows the state of the mindset of many black people. And it might be because that we actually might have given up. You know, it's
Yeah.
like that's the sad part about it, and we might have actually given up.
Yeah, and I often wonder about the black community in those places. Basically, there's like they pretty much given up hope on getting justice or anything changing for the most part, and it's sad. it's very sad when the black community actually gives up hope. But I think that's what the Democrats want people to do. They want the black people to give up hope, but they want the black people to need them. So they're going to give up their hope and trade it for needing the Democrats for the most part. It's typically how it works, and it's the cold hard reality. Like that's typically what they're doing. They disenfranchise the black people enough to the point where like they're not even out there really protesting. It's like basically all the white people out there protesting for the fact that he actually got killed for the most part. And the sad part about that is we talk about these things all the time, and it's very rare that I actually speak up on these things. And usually when I do speak up on them, like the person was you're literally in the right, and the person the shit shouldn't have happened, and the shit was so ridiculously unfair that like he never even had a chance of living for the most part. It's kind of like
Right.
what I talk about when I say my grandmother bought me a bulletproof vest for 2 Christmases ago, 3 Christmases ago. She bought me a bulletproof vest and a bulletproof backpack because she was
For
worried
me,
about my safety in the United States.
my sister is is redoing the research on cams, on the camera systems,
Mm-hmm.
camera and microphone systems. For my
Mm-hmm.
truck. That's the state it is. Like if I were to get pulled into a scale house, and it's like at least if I go down, they got footage that can be uploaded to freaking the Ethernet.
Yeah.
For
And
me,
this
it's
is
like I carry like my favorite candy in the Frigidaire in my truck for if I do get pulled over, pulled in the scale house. That'd be the last thing I tasted.
yeah.
And I've been like my fridge. If you were to look into my fridge, you would see a Reese's peanut butter cup and Mountain Dew. Uh, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you still.
Hold on, I gotta fix my sound.
You're fine.
Uh,
And he bounced out. But yeah, typically it's space. Yeah, you're right, Americans. They are pretty much prostituting the black vote for the most part. That's pretty much all they're doing is just prostituting the black vote. It's sad, but it's true. Like, because they pretty much know they got the black vote because they pretty much got the black vote on GP for the most part. So they don't
and
even
you're
have to
not
really rally it. They really don't have to rally in black neighborhoods because of that shit. They'll rally in all the other neighborhoods, but they would never rally in the black neighborhoods because Democrats believe they got the black vote on lock.
people that they have to worry about are the people who have given up hope and stop voting for them.
Yeah,
Like I will not vote. I can't see myself voting Democrat after experiencing what I experienced. I can't see myself voting Democrat.
yeah. And the sad part about that is like when it comes down to it, I actually mentioned this in a podcast that I did, internal status podcast I did like a couple days ago when I said when I talked about like parenting, politics, and religion. I talked about the whole entire like how the Democrats basically use blacks to basically you know get over on people for the most part, or they basically use fear mongering tactics on black people so they can actually make them sound like so they can make themselves sound like the savior of black people for the most part, which is actually pretty sad.
Right,
But
and it works, and it works like a
and it
charm.
works. It works like a charm all the time, yeah. And the sad part about that is another thing I was actually talking about in that same podcast was the fact that a lot of people are around to do mail-in voting. Now, if you know anything about mail-in voting, and you know anything about the Trump demographic, there's probably going to be a chance that Trump's going to lose because of mail-in voting. It's just
Um,
sad facts, basically. And I hate to say it like that because I will be sending in my ballot for Trump, but at the same time, it's the same thing. It's basically because this mail-in voting thing, you kind of figure like a lot of Trump's base who voted for Trump probably won't remember to actually mail in their ballot. And the sad part about that is if they are mailing in their ballot, the younger generation of that family will probably check off a Democrat before they check off Trump. So they'll probably make the vote for their grandparents for the most part, or make the vote for the people, which is very sad. And I see a lot of voter fraud going on for that reason, for the most part. It's kind of like how the Democrats say, uh, well, uh, well, I don't think it's right that you make black people get ID because black people don't know how to find a DMV. Black people can't find, black people don't know how to get to the DMV. They don't have the means to get an ID. They basically use all these retarded words, basically make black people sound stupid for the most part. And
Yep.
black people fall for the shit. Like, yeah, you're against us by making us have IDs. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I don't know any nigga who don't have an ID. Like, think about it. How many black people do you know in your whole entire life that don't have an ID on them? Because
In
without an
my
ID,
entire in my
without an
entire life,
ID,
you can't drive a car, you can't get a car, you can't get a job.
yeah. On top of that, if you don't have an ID, you can be detained for 72 hours
Right.
because they can't quote unquote identify you. So think about that shit. How many black people do you know
In
that
my,
don't have an ID?
I've never actually met one that never had an ID, even if it was expired.
They had an ID.
They
Hell,
had
they
an
even had
ID.
their work ID. Shit. I see, like I seen people with work IDs. I seen people they always have an ID for the most part.
Right.
So I don't understand where this whole entire disconnect's coming from with black people not knowing where the DMV is or can't make it to the DMV. They don't have the means to
Dude,
make it to the they can't
some of them
afford to
work
get
at
an
the
ID.
DMV. Some of them work at
Yeah,
the DMV. The majority of them
I
work
know,
at the
right?
DMV.
Hell, if you question a black person right now, they can tell you where the DMV is for the most part.
Right. I can tell you what it is. I know there's the BM. I drive. I know where the BMV is in certain cities in Ohio.
Yeah,
The Bureau of Motor Vehicle in Ohio. Heck, I drive past the Tennessee TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation. I can show you where one is in Knoxville, Nashville, freaking Laverne, freaking whole other places. Let's see the places I've gone to. I've been through Cooksville, Sparta, hell, in Virginia Beach. I know where the DMV is in Virginia Beach.
yeah,
I know. I mean, in Pennsylvania, all throughout Pennsylvania, I know where the DMV is, or at least I can. At least I know of an area close by to the DMV. So this whole black people not knowing what a DMV is, you might as well take that, write it on the paper, take a crap, wipe your ass with it.
yeah, for real. And the sad part about that is like somebody actually did an experiment where they went to a college campus and they asked a bunch of liberals about the ID law, and then they went to the inner city to go visit black people to actually ask them. And I think it was entitled "What Liberals Think of Black People" or "How Liberals View Black People." And the sad part about that is he asked all these people, "Well, yeah, it's wrong to have voter ID laws because black people don't know how to find the DMV." And he literally said this shit on camera. Then this guy literally went to the hood, to the middle of the damn hood, to actually find black people to ask them about like the voter ID laws and shit like that and stuff like that. And they go, "I don't care about the voter ID laws." Like, do you? They basically ask them, "Do you have ID?" They go, "Yes." You know, he said, and he basically said liberals think that you don't know how to find the DMV, or you don't have the resources or means to buy a new ID, or you don't have the means to get to the
Hey, look,
DMV, or you don't even know where a DMV is
let
located,
me break this
basically.
to you.
And like all these black people are literally like telling you like where the DMV was, what block it was, what the address was, and shit like that. How many blocks over from where they were standing it was, and shit like that. So they knew where the shit was.
Right.
So
And
the
if you
left
don't got and
basically
if you
think
don't got
the
the
left
money,
basically thinks
if you don't got the
good.
money, you'll ask your mama. If she ain't got the money, you'll ask your daddy. They ain't got the money, you'll ask your friend. We'll go down the list we'll go down the list to get an ID and pay the money back
Yeah.
when we can.
The sad part about that is the cold hard truth about that is like they all knew where the DMV was. Ain't none of them not know where the DMV was. Hell, the kid that didn't even get his ID yet knew where the hell the DMV was.
Right.
So, like, and the sad part about that, this is how liberals literally view black people. They view them as dumb and needing to have assistance. And I have
And
no
that's what
clue
the
why niggas
Democrats
even
do.
vote for them. I have no clue why niggas vote for them on a regular basis when they believe that when they believe you to be stupider than what you really are, for the most part. That you need this help. You need their help to actually get to make it in this world for the most part. It's technically what they're saying about you. You literally need their help to make it in this world because you don't know anything and you don't know any better and you're stupid basically because you can't find shit. That's typically what they're saying.
Thing is that we're not stupid. We just give it up.
Yeah, and the sad part about that, black people will give up. But the sad part about that is like I've noticed with a lot of the protests that like typically a lot of time, most of the times when a black people do protest is usually very peaceful. Then when Antifa gets involved, it ends up not being peaceful anymore.
And
it's kind of like
Antifa's a terrorist organization, but yet they do nothing about it.
They know nothing about that. They're on the left. That's why they don't do anything about it. And the sad part about that, it's kind of like what the lady in Ferguson said when they said that the black people are destroying their own neighborhood. The sad part about that is everybody that lives in Ferguson literally said that we didn't destroy our neighborhood. Somebody that got bussed in or came from somewhere else literally destroyed our neighborhood to make us look bad.
And the thing is, if we take matters against them, now we're gonna get arrested.
You're going to get arrested, or you'll get like the sad part about the funny thing I noticed about Antifa is if you actually attack an Antifa member, you'll get arrested, despite the fact that he can beat you to enter your life. But if you attack him back somehow, some way, you can actually be arrested. He will never be arrested.
Right.
He or she will never be arrested.
It's what it
because
is.
they're a protected class.
What do we have? We
Of the
have
left.
nothing.
Basically, yeah. Basically, Antifa is the new KKK for the most part. Antifa is literally the new KKK.
Let me give you
of our generation.
Let me give you a little history about Antifa.
New era, new name, same damn shit, basically.
Yeah. Let me
and they'll attack any fucking body. It don't matter what the race is, they'll basically attack anybody. And they'll discredit anybody. They'll basically call a black person a white supremacist. They'll call a Chinese person a white supremacist. They'll call a white person a white supremacist. They'll call a Latino a white supremacist. They'll call an African a white supremacist. So what the fuck do you think they'll do to your ass if you're African American or American in your title? They'll call you a white supremacist. Hell, the Proud Boys were called white supremacists, and they got a mixed group of motherfuckers in that group, but they're white supremacists.
Jewish people, they got gay people, they got a whole bunch of people. I actually looked at the application.
Yeah, they have black people in there. They have Asian people. They have people from all walks of life in the Proud Boys. But they're literally a white supremacist group, is what they call them.
Which makes no sense. Now, I want to give you a little history about Antifa. It starts in World War II. Now, this is the sole reason that whenever these goddamn protesters coming on, I'm carrying the Union Jack. For those of you who don't know, or geographically, or illiterate, the Union Jack is the British flag. Now, on these protesters, you got flags on both sides. On Antifa, the Nazis, and the Confederate. Now, let's see. The Nazis beat Antifa in pre-World War II. They decimated them. The Union Jack, the American flag, and Americans beat the Nazis. The Union beat the Confederate. So since we're flying losing ass flags, I think the Union Jack has more right to fly because they lost and came back and tried again.
Mm-hmm.
They lost and came back and tried again. They have more right to fly than all them flags. You know? Because they lost and came. If we're flying losing ass flags, and I think I got a Union Jack on order. Because
Yeah.
the next time one of these protests come along in my hometown and I'm home to see it, you better be damn skippy. I'm carrying the British flag.
Okay, before we get too far off topic with that whole entire British flag thing, I'm gonna go back to America's statement about Trump being a one-term president. I actually agree with you on that one because if we do this voting thing, if we do this mail-in voting thing, he will definitely be a one-term president. If we actually vote like normal people and actually go out to the polls, I think he'll actually get back in office. But I think he has a lower chance. I believe he has a lower chance of getting in office with this whole entire mail-in vote shit.
Because these people going to go door to door and strong arm people.
Yeah, they're literally like I said, they're literally going to like either mark down people, elderly people's, or they're going to vote for elderly people and actually make it happen, or their family members who happen to be liberals, libtards, will vote for Democrat for their elderly family, and it's going to be a whole entire voting fraud thing going on there.
Right.
So it's one of those things where because the sad part about that is the people who voted for Trump and the generation under them, or the second or the first or second generation under them, were probably voting like liberal, or probably vote liberals for the most part, especially if they went to college. They're definitely liberals. So if one of them motherfuckers will be more than willing to actually fill out the voting card for their parents, basically to basically quote unquote, and I use air quotes, you can't see it, help them out, basically. Basically vote for the same person that they voted for. It's just facts. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. Like with this whole entire thing is going to create more voter fraud than what everybody's been pointing out and believing we already have. There's going to be ridiculous amounts of voting fraud if we do this, which is very sad. And that's basically what it is for the most part. It's just not right.
And it's going to get worse. That's the sad part about it. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, it is. And the sad part about that is Antifa's just going to get worse if nobody does anything about it. And they pretty much run free reign. They have free reign to do whatever the fuck they want for the most part, and nobody's going to stop them.
They could literally piss on the White House and nobody do anything about it.
Yeah.
They could piss on the White House and nobody do anything about it. That's how bad it is.
Definitely. Hell, they attacked. Matter of fact, they attacked somebody and nobody even blinked. Right. They didn't even blink. I think they attacked an elderly person and nobody even blinked.
Nobody even blinked.
They attacked a black person during a protest and nobody even blinked.
Which is sad. And like I gotta get the heck out of here. I mean, it's to the point where it's like I'm just done. I'm officially done.
COVID equals death. COVID death equals Joe Biden. Yeah, it does equal for the most part because he voted against the whole entire lockdown for the most part. But the funny thing about this whole entire lockdown shit is what I notice is all the liberals are complaining about being in lockdown, but when Trump says he's going to lift the ban, they go, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Trump. We can't. You can't just let us out of lockdown." But 5 weeks, just like 5 seconds ago, you were complaining about being locked down. But when Trump says he's going to lift the ban or reverse the ban, now all of a sudden he's wrong and he's doing it too soon. And this, that, and the other now. Like, make up your mind. You can't have it both ways. You can't be hoping and wishing for, the lockdown to go away, then turn around and be, trying to condemn Trump for, trying to give you back your freedom again. Think about that shit.
Hey, look, all he did was he handed the reins back to the decision back to the states.
Yeah, he
And
basically did.
to be
And the
honest with
states are
you,
and the states are getting real ridiculous with their power, and they're overstepping their stay and they're overstepping their power. But sad part about that is nobody's really challenging them. I mean, granted, there are protests here and there, but a lot of the protests aren't even about the fact that they're in lockdown. A lot of the protests are about like civil injustice and civil unfairness for the most part is what
that's the
most of those protests are about. I mean, granted,
it,
you do have your occasional I don't want to be in lockdown protest, but for the most part, most of the protests are about civil injustices or you know stuff that happened in the neighborhood that people don't believe is right. Yeah, but it's just stuff like that just blows my mind when it comes down to it. It's like, why are we even doing this? Why are we even here? What is the point?
and it's like first off, the people who lead this here thing somehow mysteriously get sick. You know, have you noticed that?
Okay, so people are getting mysteriously sick lately.
Yeah, I mean the people who lead the protest of the governor stepping their own bounds, they mysteriously get sick.
Not all the time, but every now and again that does happen where somebody conveniently gets sick and comes down with something conveniently. It does happen quite often. It's sad, but it happens very often.
And it's like,
Yeah, so like it's just stuff like that that just makes me sit here and like ponder and think about shit half the time because like it's like that don't make no fucking sense. Let me ponder on this shit for a little bit so I can actually make it make sense.
yeah, it's like the F's. It starts with an E and F ends with a E.
Epstein?
Yeah,
Yeah. Shit don't make no sense. How that nigga just died out of nowhere? He hung himself, really? He hung himself, really? That's what we going with?
right. I guess so. And then you got people mysteriously getting sick, which baffles me. Which baffles the hell out of me. How does a person who's able to stand and scream gets sick in a short amount of time?
Corey, what's up, my friend? And I already said what's up to Rex. When he popped in, and I said Rex up to everybody else too. But
In a
what's
short
up, Corey?
amount of time. I want you to do the math. Now, if it was a no, it was progress, like literally, not the freaking his his uh his freaking breakfast ain't even freaking digested, and he's sick. You
Yeah,
know, his breakfast ain't even digested, and he's sick. I want you to do some here basic math. Normally, when a person how a disease works, I'm not a virologist. That's Tico's job. He'll correct me. But
uh-huh.
normally, first off, in order for the person to get sick, it would have to enter through the blood, through the body, either through the blood system or the nasal passage, which is the one of the some of the thinnest tissue, and allow or the eyes, right? And
Yeah.
then it has to fight through the immune system. Then it has to fight through the immune system, the white blood cells. And if it manages to bypass that because of a weak immune system, then the body has to raise the temperature, and that takes an excess of 3 days to a week. Am I correct?
What for?
Maybe
What?
2 weeks. For
What?
to register that the body is sick, it would have to enter through the blood, through the nasal passage or the eyes, right?
Well, no, it depends on what it is because a lot of times, like you get like you get preemptive stuff. Sometimes it can be right away. Sometimes it can be a day later, 7 days, 5 days, 6 days for the most part. You can pretty much get sick at any given time. It's all about the incubation period for the most part, and a lot of times people don't even get an incubation period; they're automatically sick too. So it
What about
varies person to person in body chemistry for the most part.
so where the hell they get this 2 weeks intubation period for the
Because the
COVID
sad
with this
part,
stuff?
because I don't know where they actually got it from to be exact, but at the same time, that's basically an incubation period. It can last it can that incubation period can last up to 2 weeks basically, sometimes longer, depending on who the person is for the most part. But the sad part about it is like there's people that's been known to get sick right away from the COVID virus too. So it's one of them things where it's like, well, is it like intubation period or is it no intubation period? Because this person was not in intubation period and they're just sick out of nowhere randomly. Whereas a lot of people go through intubation period, like the flu is a good example of that. Like you may get the flu that same day, or you may get the flu 3 days from now, 6 days from now, 7 days from now, for the most part. And it's typically the
You
same thing
might
when it
get
comes to the
you
COVID
might
virus.
get it a
You
month.
could,
You might get it a month from now.
and it's the same thing goes for like coronavirus. Like you could get the coronavirus today, you could get it 2 weeks from now, 21 days from now. So like it's all about the body and the chemistry and how it works for the most part. And it's just shit like that just blows my mind for the most part. That makes it so it's real ridiculous, and I don't quite understand it.
I guess it's not supposed to make sense. Shit. I guess that'd be too convenient to make sense. You know.
Yeah, it's like it's just stuff like that just blows my mind when it comes down to it. It's like, and as far as like the whole entire thing, because I just seen Corey Steele just write something. I don't really see any falling out between black content creators and white content creators. If there is, I missed something. Um, but I really don't see no falling out between them. I mean, there could be one that I don't know about that I didn't see yet, but I really don't see no falling out between black and white content creators. Hell, I don't even see no falling out between Latin and white or Latin and black content creators. We all tend to, we all tend to, because at the end of the day, the thing you have to realize about the whole entire thing, when it comes down to it, it's the philosophy, and the philosophy is men going their own way. It's very hard to rally against people when you're going your own way.
Now
You
look
know what I
at
mean? Like you can't really rally or hate somebody when you're going your own way for the most part. Like you can't really team up when you're literally going your own way. If because the other black person is probably not going the same way you're going, or probably the other black person is probably not taking the same path as you. So you're basically going all the opposite directions for the most part. So I don't really see this war or this fallout that everybody's making it out to be for the most part for that reason.
it's just like I said, I will avoid somebody if they're just basically being unreasonable and ignorant. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what it is. Is if you're being unreasonable and ignorant, I will avoid you.
Hell, there's a lot of content creators I don't watch from all spectrums of the color scheme. It's
Right.
either because either I don't really deem you necessary to watch, or I don't really deem you as a valuable person to watch for the most part.
Right.
And there's a lot of them where like I'll look at their videos and I go, he rushed that shit. He rushed the fuck out of that shit, and he probably should have did a little more research on that shit for the most part.
A
And like
lot
he
of my
basically he
videos,
basically was just trying to put the content out there. Basically,
a lot
is
of my
what I notice about a
videos,
lot of
I
content
have
creators.
a lot of my videos I have rushed. I will not lie. A lot of my videos I've rushed a lot. You know,
Yeah,
can you tell?
hell, I mean, yeah, you could tell sometimes, but sometimes it's like one of those things where it's like basically there was a content creator that put out a video yesterday. I'm not going to say his name or say what the video is. Basically trying to down somebody's wife, basically for pictures. And the sad part about that, the husband's the one that took the pictures, and the husband's the one that posted the pictures.
which is sad.
And the wife was against the taking of the pictures and posting the pictures. But but yeah, that's pretty much what it is. People just want that. They're basically running out there like the fucking news now, where they try to get the story out there first for the most part. It's basically what it is anymore in
I'm
the
not.
manosphere anymore. People are just running out there just to basically be first to put the story out there first without doing any facts or fact checking.
The
It's
thing
very
is for
sad.
me. The thing is for me is like it's usually something that I know about, but because on a time hack, like I'm at the shipper, the constantly, or I'm in the or I'm about to enter the road, or I've got about 100 miles of road, or I've got to basically I'm doing these things by the mileage, by the miles. I'm doing this thing by a time crunch,
Yeah.
and that's the only reason that
hmm Yeah, but like to answer America's question, yes, I do have street cred. I have a lot of street credibility. Um, unless you were talking about like the whole entire dynamic of what's going on. Um, shit like that for the most part. I think the Manosphere will be united for the most part in
yeah.
any and all iterations for the most part. It'll be united as much as it can humanly possibly be united. You'll have your every now and again you'll have your red pill versus MiGTOW, you'll have your MiGTOW versus purple pill, you'll have your MRA versus everybody, you'll have your black pill versus everybody. You'll have that shit happening, but for the most part, they typically tend to be pretty unified for the most part under a philosophy. And despite the fact that everybody's going their own way under the flag, under the banner or the flag of the philosophy, everybody's pretty much going their own way. So you can't really say that. And this is another thing that I've noticed. So I might as well bring this up now since it's only like an hour. We're only an hour in, and I've
Right.
noticed this with a lot of women, and I noticed this with a lot of other male content creators who
Uh huh.
say stupid shit like, "Well, MGTOW should be doing this. It's called men going their own way." If they wanted to do that shit and wanted to change shit, I need you to go look to the MRA to go do that shit.
Right.
MGTOW is going their own way, so therefore they don't really care about the shit going on. They just want to go on with their lives and better themselves for the most part,
Let me get
and
this. Let me say something.
just say fuck all this shit, fuck it all to hell. Let me do me, and you do whatever the fuck you want to do, and that's about it for the most part. That's typically
Hey,
how that works. That's
here,
how that literally works.
I'm gonna say something here. There's a difference between a philosophy and a movement, and I've said it multiple times in my videos. A philosophy, let me say it in a different way. A philosophy is of the mind, uh, body, and spirit. A movement, you're actually getting up off of your comfortable chair, out of your rack, away from your job to protest. Now, on the caveat to that, you cannot protest under the MiGTOW flag because then you will then unwittingly transfer it from the philosophy to a movement, which is not good for MiGTOW as a whole.
No, it's not. And the sad part about that is like I was saying for the most part, like you people always say, well, MGTOW should be doing this, or how come MGTOW ain't doing this, or how come MGTOW ain't changing this stuff? That's not their job. Their job is men going their own way. That means
The,
we not participating in this. That means they're not. I mean, not we, but that means they're not participating in this shit. They're not going to capitulate the shit, and they're going to basically take their shit and go outside or go somewhere else, basically, and go off on their own little accord or own little adventure for the most part to improve themselves.
and I'm a,
It'd be no for the most part. It'd be no different than like a Native American vision quest for the most part would be equivalent to a MiGTOW's journey. You basically, go on your little vision quest to better yourself, to find yourself, to figure out what is it about you to make yourself a better version of you for the most part, or what you can do for you to make yourself a better version of you.
And let me get this straight. Let me get this to you. Now, an example, MiGTOW will let if the infrastructure around them is on fire, or the dating infrastructure is on fire, don't look to MiGTOW to put the fire out. Because we're not going to do it.
Yeah,
we
and
pretty much.
Go ahead.
We're done. We're not going to participate in it. We're not going to deal with it. We're gonna let the roof. We're gonna let the roof may be on fire, but we're gonna let it burn.
Yeah,
we're gonna let it burn. Sorry.
Then on top of that, you also got to take consideration too, that it's not a movement; it's actually a philosophy. And the sad part about a philosophy, the thing about a philosophy is the reason why they want to make it a movement is so they can actually have something to point at and actually take down for the most part. Because it's very hard to take down a philosophy, but it's very easy to take down a movement or a group for the most part, if you know what I mean. And that's typically one of those things, Western world constructs, where they have to put something in a nice little neat box. Because you can't have something outside the box, or you can't have something with its own box that don't fit in the narrative. So you can, because the thing about it, what I noticed with like feminists and people who make content talking about it's a movement or something like that, is they need it to be a movement so it can fit their narrative. If it doesn't fit their narrative, it doesn't work. So you got to spin it and make it so that it actually fits a narrative, so you can actually make it sound like it's actually something that it's really not. It's kind of like it'd be no different than a good example of that is if you're Afro Latino and this person's over here African American, two totally different things. May have the same skin color, but you come from two different cultures for the most part.
Right.
You can't put an Afro Latino in the same box as an African American for the most part, because that's culture versus culture for the most part. That's typically how that works. And people try to do disingenuous shit to make it sound like it's a movement, or make it sound like it's a hate group, or make it sound like it's a shit like that, basically, because like I said, they need it to fit a narrative. They need it to fit their narrative so it can actually ring true. Because the neat thing about it is, and I always talk about this when it comes to feminism and stupid people, they don't need a strong argument. They just need to feel as though they just need to feel like it's. They just need to feel as though it's right for the most part. Like a good argument would be like the stuff that everybody else does. What feminism does, they don't argue. They basically feel the shit for the most part. They feel the shit through to make it work for the most part. It's typically how they make it work. So like they'll say like all African Americans, or they'll say these people are disenfranchised, or they'll say stupid shit to basically they'll basically say a lot of stupid shit so they can make shit fit their narrative for the most part. Is the best way I can describe it to you. So like they'll say like it's basically they'll say a lot of shit and they'll be basically silly. Basically a bunch of think of it like this. When people on the left try to describe shit, they're doing nothing more than throwing up shit on a piece of paper like a preschool collage for the most part. That's typically what it is. It's a preschool collage of shit, of discombobulated thoughts and ideas all smashed into one thing for the most part. That's typically how that works.
More like unorganized, unethical,
unorthodox. Right. It's basically a nice way to basically make it so that you fit this narrative and you can't get out of this box now, basically. Because as long as you're in the box, long as you're in the box for them, that's what you are. The minute you're outside the box,
They
You're a
want you to be
problem to
back
them
in
for the
that
most
box.
part. They want you to be back in that fucking box because they can't have you outside the box because you got to fit this nice little neat box because you got to be in this box because they believe and feel as though you need to be in this box. That's typically how that works. So all this other shit that they got going on is just bullshit. All this other anything else crazy is like just some other shit.
Right. Which is sad. And it's freaking sad that we have to.
Here goes all seeing heart. The reason why MiGTOW in the Wind spells his name like that because he's in the military.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
pretty much. He puts the I in there because he's in the military. He's basically letting you know he's MiGTOW and he's military. That's why he spells it with that I.
It's an
That answer your
abbreviation.
question? That answer your question? All seeing heart.
Everything about me, like I said, everything about me represents a part of my life. Now I can't represent a part of everything about my life on on YouTube because that would give off too much information. But pretty much, if you want to know about my upbringing, look at the clothes that I wear. You know, like you'll find me in blue jeans or some sort of jeans and a t-shirt, some sort of thing where we're carpenter's pants and a t-shirt. You know, like I said, everything about me represents either the places that I've been or my upbringing or my experiences in life. And I put it together in a way where it works. You know, it works for me. And I mean, Tiku's met me. Tiku knows that I do. Even though I have given up hope for change. I do take some pride in my upbringing. You know, I take
Yeah, and that's
some
a good
sort of
thing.
pride.
You should always take pride in your upbringing. You should always take
Right.
pride in who you are and you being you for the most part. Because if you don't, then
Like I said,
you can't really progress. You can't really progress on as a human being if you don't take pride in yourself and always want to improve yourself and always want to do better by yourself. Sometimes in life you have to be selfish, and if
right.
you're not selfish, shit's going to happen to you. A lot of shit tends to happen to people when they're not selfish for the most part.
A lot of bad stuff, and people take advantage of them, and people end up getting screwed over for not being selfish at some point in their life.
Definitely, always be selfish. Shit, I have children. I'm still selfish. Shit.
And and for me, it's like I take some pride in who I am. You know, I will wear my reflective vest out in public. You know, and because I forgot to take it off, it's become a part of me. I mean, I have a freaking cowboy hat that I will wear not because of anything, it's because it's the places that I've been. You know,
They
the
just,
places I
America Seville said you dress like ZZ Tops.
shit.
Yamsi,
Hey,
Yamsi is also a quasar. And
yeah,
then you had then Double I said his hashtag sidekick Milo.
yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Is like I dress
And America
however I
Seville
feel.
said responded to America Seville responded to Yam and said where Yam said he's also a quasar, and America Seville responded to that. That's also light years ahead of that's also light years ahead of thoughts.
Light years ahead of thoughts. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
light
yeah.
years ahead of thoughts. Yeah.
And I'm doing, and when if it wasn't for the fact we me and Tico met in Oakland, and it's crowded as hell, and if it was by myself, I'd cross the street. And a chick walked in my direction. We were walking. I was walking in. I was walking away. She was walking the other way, and we see. Before she even got the thought, I'm crossing the street. You know, and when she passed, I'll cross back over
Yeah.
and walk and continue on walking. And then one even and it's like I will literally walk past a chick wearing attention grabbing clothes and not even look back
Yeah.
because I've literally had to train myself to do that for years,
True story.
not giving them any attention.
I actually don't pay attention to women when they walk past me.
Right. I also don't. I
I don't
also
look in
don't
the
pay.
window. I don't look back. I don't even care.
I and me is like I will. I say whatever I want to say in public. Woman, man, what a woman, man, trans man, and a trans man. I don't care. You know, I say whatever I want, and the most I've got in Walmart, I've got death glares. I've got death glares from from angry wives with children and their husbands going shopping.
I believe it.
They got pissed just because I was telling somebody about MiGTOW their nature,
Mm-hmm.
and they got mad. They didn't say anything because they couldn't. What are they gonna say? I was basically telling a friend of mine, I was like, look, I guarantee you any money that if these women were some of these women who went to college probably got some miles on them. And like I'm telling him about his girlfriend, it's like, look, even if her behavior changes for you, you still gotta deal with this dude with her ex dude. You know, you
True
gotta deal
story.
with her ex dude, and her ex dude's a little punk and will literally do anything to get you out of her life.
For the most part, yeah.
And it's like he's a criminal too.
Oh shit.
Like he's a criminal too. So I mean, you're a criminal, but you're a smart criminal. You could literally he will literally try anything to get you out of her life. Nothing short than somebody freaking icing him will get you out. We'll get you. We'll get you any peace. You will never have peace with her, whether it's through her attitude or through her ex-man, ex-boyfriends, or ex-baby daddies. You will never have any form of peace and quiet because
Story.
I kept telling them, you don't want to listen. I keep telling them, she will cost you your gun license. She will cost you your ability to leave the state.
She would cost your ability to actually get a freaking passport. She would cost your ability to
Passport,
actually
get
keep
a
your
job.
driver's license.
Right.
Yeah, get a job, any type of shit like that for the most part.
And
And to
I keep
answer
telling them.
and
I keep,
to answer all seeing hearts, was that his name? All seeing heart. Um, as far as whatever call myself MGTOW, well, basically the situation in my life would have to change for me to actually do that. Like I would literally, yeah, the situation in my life would have to change basically for me to do that because, like I always said, I respect the philosophy, not to disrespect it and call myself something if I'm not properly practicing the philosophy. Because I've never been one of those people who jump into something and then be trying to change shit to fit me. If it's a philosophy, I need to fit that philosophy. Me instead of me trying to actually fit it trying to fit me. I mean, so that's the reason why I don't really refer to myself as MGTOW. However, if you ever heard a lot of people say, I'm red pill MGTOW leaning, but I'm not. I would never be MGTOW, unfortunately, for that reason, because I actually respect the philosophy, not to disrespect it for the most part.
And caveat off of that, because I know the question. No, I know there's probably some SYSBM people in there. Have I ever gone SYSBM? I will freely admit yes. And in my understanding, everybody has gone save yourself. Every man has gone save yourself in some way, either through either it was so fast they didn't know it, or they notice it in passing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look back, everybody has gone there. It's just the fact is, for some people, it takes them a little bit longer to get past that stage. Everybody has gone in some way of save yourself, man.
Well, no, not really, because at the end of the day, once you think about it, once you boil it all down, in all technicality, to some extent, everybody's pretty much SYSB. Well, SYS, SYSM. Everybody pretty much holds the acronym SYSM, because to some extent, everybody's pretty much going their own way. Men going their own way. Technically, you're saving yourself. You're supposed to be saving yourself. You're supposed to disengage with all the bullshit and basically go your own way for the most part. So in all technicality, it's a nice way of saying save yourself. And by working on yourself, you're definitely saving yourself. And the same goes for SYSBM. You're literally saving yourself. You're basically taking yourself out of the game here and putting yourself in a game elsewhere, or taking yourself out of the game, period, and just having fun while you're doing it for the most part. That's typically how that works for them. So you're either taking your skills elsewhere where they can be utilized properly, or you're just basically you're basically withdrawing from the whole entire thing and just basically having fun with it.
Right.
For the most part.
But for me,
So
it's like
the same thing goes with when people refer to themselves as MiGTOW. You're a man going your own way. That means you're saving yourself from the bullshit that's going on in society and what people got going on around you for the most part. You're literally saving yourself from all that bullshit. That's typically how that works.
Yeah, that's probably a better way that I could put it. You said it in
So
a
in all
better way.
technicality, you're saving yourself from the gynocracy and the stupid people in the gynocracy that keep voting stupid shit against them, despite the fact that they're men and they keep voting against their best interests. You're literally saving yourself from that bullshit.
Like, my next step is a passport, you know? My next step is a passport. That's my next step. And it's like after that, after the passport, I'm able to get more money for having a passport, because they will pay you. Truck companies will pay you more with the passport. It's after that, it's learning another skill besides truck driving. I will go back to school to be a welder. I will go back to school to be an HVAC technician. Just to have those certifications, just to have them. I will all like for me, in all of my things that I've learned, I always go back to school. Like I said, my school is a driving school, and I could actually go back and practice shifting on a manual transmission if I ever feel that I'm getting rusty. You know, as kind of a refresher on the manuals. And every few years I go back. And in fact, when I go to renew my driver's license, I'm going to go back to the school and make sure I know how to shift. You know, that's pretty much my self-improvement.
And to comment on Yam's comment, SYS was actually around before COVID virus, fam.
Yeah, well, way long before COVID virus.
Long before COVID virus. Hell, I know people that were SYS before SYS was even a thing. Back in the 80s. So In all technicality, YSBM has pretty much been around
civilization.
since since the 80s or 70s for the most part.
I want, like I said,
In all technicality, pretty much SYSBM has been around since America's became America, and like a lot of the soldiers were dating women from overseas, let it be Vietnam,
right.
Italy, Germany, and shit like that. So in all technicality, SYSBM has been around since World War One, World War Two,
Pretty much.
to some capacity or to some extent.
It just started taking off now because things have been getting really bad. Things have been getting really bad. You know?
And no, it doesn't follow. It doesn't follow. It doesn't follow social experiments. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to hang that up. But yeah, it's just shit like that. It's just shit like that just blows my mind when you hear and see people say and do stupid shit. And I don't know. But yeah, it's just typically. I think that's about it. We talked about a lot of shit, so I think we're pretty much. I think we're pretty much done for the most part.
Yeah.
If you have something else to say.
Oh, that's it. I just shit. That was an interesting. That was an interesting live stream. You know.
It was a lot of craziness going on in the live chat, but yeah, very interesting live stream.
Yeah. I mean, look here. I always enjoyed. I always enjoyed like deep debates, conversations. You know, to get like it always. I always turn out better from it. You know, I like to learn. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like if I can't find anybody, like I said, I will literally have a debate with myself.
Yeah. And all seeing heart, that's one of the best soccer players in the world that you got as your avatar.
Right. I mean, the reason I got the sister got me the dog is because she doesn't want me talking to 8 people. 2 of them exist. 1 of them I have to pay.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, true. But we're gonna say our outros and get out of here basically, since that's pretty much it.
All right.
Go first.
All right. This is MiGTOW on the win. Ola Ola. This is me being a jerk. Me being a jerk because I can. And this has been a one-on-one session with Eternal Sadist, aka Costa Rican Train. This is me signing off.
This is Tico Trend, aka Internal Sadist. Basically, just improve yourself. Always better yourself. Always make yourself a better version of you. For the most part, never settle. Never settle if you don't have to, and just basically always do you. For the most part, fuck what everybody. Fuck what everybody else got going on. It's all about you. You got to be selfish sometimes and do you. Treat yourself. Do better with yourself. Make yourself healthy. Make yourself the better version of yourself. It is what it is. Y'all have a blessed night and be good. And I had a fun time doing this lovely stream. And like and share this stream, and hopefully people can learn something from it and have fun with it, basically. Peace.